Okay, here we go live. So welcome everyone to Meshery Development meeting. Today is 23rd of August and I'll quickly share the link of meeting minutes again in chat. Make sure you mark your attendance and if you got any agenda, feel free to add it in. So with that, we'll be starting off this call with some introductions. So if you are new to this call and new to the community, this is your chance. You can unmute yourself and give a quick introduction and say hi to the community. So I see a couple of new names in participants list. So who would like to go first and give a quick introduction?
Hello. Am I audible?
Yep, Rajdeep, we can hear you.
Hello. Last day, I joined the newcomers meet and like I started contributing. So my first PR got merged today itself. Like I migrated the whole notification system from in the UI part and now working on the different part, changing the custom toolbar.js and to the functional component. Yeah, and hoping to contribute more.
Yeah, that's fantastic. First PR and that too merged and first time join this call. That's great. Nice to have you, Rajdeep.
Thank you.
All right. So next up we have Chetan Kumar. So Chetan, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Yeah. So, yeah, I joined recently and today I joined this meeting first time. And yeah, I'm a front-end focused full stack developer with 3 years of experience. I previously worked at Rajdeep and also worked at Decorum, the startup. And yeah, I was responsible for building corporate card features, the UI, and all things. Yeah. So yeah, it's nice to get into this. I went to all the newcomers docs, and yeah, today I am in with the meeting to have a flavor. How is it going on? So I can join soon the contributions.
Yeah, that's totally awesome. Yeah, nice to have you, Chetan. Yeah, you will definitely enjoy the community and will enjoy this meeting. Cool. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, welcome.
All right. So Fifi, you're up next.
Hi, my name is Fifi Dawson. I joined the community last week, so I've been learning a bit of Golang and setting up my environment, trying to become familiar with the whole Meshery system. So hoping to contribute to my first few issues. I've been through. It seems most of the issues have been taken, so patiently waiting as well.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. Yep. Again, welcome to the call, Fifi. Nice to have you. All right. So, Layak Ali or Ankit Singh, are you guys joining for the first time? Would like to say hi?
Hi guys, my name is Layak Ali. Yeah, I'm joining this for the first time. It's been a week or two. I've joined 2 meetings already. I'm a front-end developer and I opened a pull request. It hasn't been merged yet. Hopefully it will be merged today or tomorrow, I guess.
Oh, that's great. All right. If it's related to Meshery, yeah, feel free to add it in. We'll surely discuss.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the call and to the community lag. All right. So anyone else joining for the first time and would like to say hi?
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Taba Julie Martins. I am joining for the first time. I joined the community last week, but I've not been consistent due to my work. Then Lee chatted me up on LinkedIn and tried to remind me of joining the community. And I promised him to be here for this meetup. This is my first time. I'm actually a documentarian. I'm actually a technical writer. I create documentation for open source projects and also for software projects as well. I'm a technical writer, a software documentarian, and this is my first time of being here. I've not actually made any pull requests yet. I'm still trying to get to understand the community and how it works. and how I can make contribution as a technical writer for the community. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great, Taba. Fantastic. Nice to have you. Talking about technical writing, we have a dedicated program for that. The writers program. Yeah, you should surely join the newcomers meet, which Lee has shared the link in chat. So that's great. Nice to have you. All right. So I think we have covered all the introductions. If not, I'll still pause for 2 seconds. Feel free to interrupt me. Okay, then. So before we start off with topics, if you got webcams, don't be shy. Feel free to open your webcams. All right. So this call is being live streamed on YouTube. So with that, let's start with this thing. So if you haven't started the Meshery repository yet, I'll quickly share the link in chat. Do start it. We are aiming to get 3,000 stars this week, this month. And before KubeCon North America, we aim to get 5,000 stars. So do share it with your friends and peers and help Five to go vertical. So next thing is about publishing your first design into the Meshery catalog. So we now have steps and all the video tutorials available on docs.meshery.io. So do check it out and do publish your first design. We'll surely give a shout out to you from the Meshery tutor handle. All right. So with that, Abid, you're up to take the stage.
Yeah. So I'll just add this support for persistence in the notifications. Previously, the notifications were not stored anywhere. So whenever user would log out or just refresh the page, all the notifications would be gone. So currently, I have added the support for client-side storage of the notifications, particular to the user. So the notifications will be stored, but on the client side. So currently, I had also a new tab for the history. So like all the notifications will be persisted. Like it's not only the history, but all the notification will be persist. And now we can like view a notification and it will be moved away to the history. So there will be less clutter. And it will be remain there. Here from we can just delete it and it will be gone forever. So currently it's in the local storage, and we might be moving to like proper backend also, but for now it's just in the local storage. And we can also like every action works like clear all and any other stuff. So like that's a small update from me.
Nice. Abid, some questions. Actually, the first question on the 404 that you have there, is that, are you running an old build or are you using the local provider? Or I wonder why that's there.
I might be using local provider because Meshpack is also not enabled.
Yeah. The thing about that is actually the suggestion that it might be the local provider is completely wrong, or should be. Like that. That means that we've not implemented an extension point correctly. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight it to some of the other folks that are on the call that we've got a bug. we should probably get that fixed.
Yeah, this happens sometimes. Like I'm logged in as the user, but like some extension points are not enabled, and like someone get this 404. Like I think currently the mesh map also is not loaded properly, but it's not showing like it has been done here. But this one gives the error.
Okay, so let's clarify. Wait, are you using the local or the remote provider?
This is like the bug. Like I have been logged in as remote provider, but like when I refresh, sometimes like it is gone. Like I only have like I don't have the options enabled like Meshpap and other extension points, and some extension points give like this 404 error. Like I had previously logged in as remote provider. I think that's like now everything loads like.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
If I log in just as none.
I wonder if Gosh, I just don't log in
Like
all that often on port
currently,
3.
it's also like not loading. It's just a bug, like it's not properly like checking if like it's a bug in like when we do show extensions, even when we are logged in as remote provider. But it's just locally happens, I think.
No, what I think is that earlier you were logged in as remote provider. Like right now, you logged in as local provider, and you won't see any extension because there isn't a support for extension in local provider. And you were seeing 404 in remote provider because likely you didn't do make dev in your extensions stuff, or your extension were not downloaded properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's your fault. I just want to be clear. No, just it's a bad joke. It's important that we figured that out. And let me follow up with you in Slack if we could to see to help ensure that we get rid of it any which way, and that we also help clarify for everybody about how that is. Comment on the work that you're doing. So it looks okay. That's also a bad joke. What I mean to say is that's exciting work in the notification center. Super important. Question for you. The delete action, is that, can you say more about the delete action?
Yeah, the delete removes it from like forever, like from the local storage and also like from this Redux, like it goes forever. When we like give it a done, like this, like we move it, like make it viewed, like now it goes into history. From history, if we can clear the history, like if we delete it, it will be gone forever. Now it won't be anywhere. So like it's when the user will want to clear his like he doesn't want the notifications, so he can just clear it. So it won't take local storage. Because if we keep it in forever in local storage, like it might like lag like the browser, and if it like these notifications, a lot of notifications will be coming. That's why.
Thank you. Thanks for. Yep. Anybody else have comments or questions, feedback?
Hello. Yeah, one question I have regarding this notification part only. It's getting clear when like the user wants. And can you please repeat? Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm asking, is it saving the notification on local storage or what?
Yeah, it's saving on the local storage, not on the backend. It's locally in the client side.
Okay. And when the user removes, it gets removed for that user, right? You don't refresh next time when user reload the application or relog in.
Yeah, if the user will relog in, it's stored per user. Like I've versioned it and also add the user ID. So like if another user will log in, he won't see these new notifications. He will see his own notification. And
if the same user relogins and before relogin, you cleared everything.
No, it's not cleared. It's still in the storage. So if the user relogins, he will see his notifications.
So what is the reason to save it in local storage in that part? Like it's already stored in database, right? We are getting from the backend.
No, these are not actually stored in database. These are like, these come from events, like this is from server-side events. They are not persist currently on the backend. And other events are just generated on the client. Like sometimes like just I download this event is generated on the client. It's not coming from backend. So when we will get a proper transport support and like bi-directional support, actually like server-side events are only like push. We can like send events from clients. So when we maybe migrate from GraphQL, that's actually a good question because we need to migrate to GraphQL or something for notifications. Then we will get a proper backend for it, and the things will be stored actually in backend. That's the correct way to do it.
Yeah, because the problem I see is like if the application is on the production and the user logins through different browser, for example, or a different window itself, it's lost, right?
Yeah, correctly.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Alrighty. Thanks, Abid. So let's move to next item. That's from Abdullah.
Actually, my screen is visible. Issue that I was working on when Meshery was deployed using Docker Compose, the kubeconfig file could not be read because of the kubeconfig file was being mounted as a volume, and there when Meshery server tried to access the kubeconfig file, it was unable to read it because of certain permission issues. So to fix that, some ways the way in which I fixed that was, firstly, the Meshery container could be run using the root user, and after that. Another fix would be that currently the stable image that we are using for Meshery as part of Docker Compose, there is a change in the way in which we are saving Kubernetes context. So when we save Kubernetes context, we save them as connections, but in the latest stable image for Meshery, this change of saving Kubernetes context as connections isn't present. So when the contexts are being registered, there is some error that is occurring on Meshery cloud. Hence, the stable image for Meshery server needs to be updated. And another reason why there was an error when trying to access kubeconfig on Docker was there was a mismatch between the location where there was a mismatch where kubeconfig was being searched for. So kubeconfig was being mounted onto this directory, but we were looking, so it is under app users /.cube, but we were looking for the kubeconfig under home /.cube, skipping over this directory. So I fixed that by adding this environment variable. So one thing that needs to be done would be to update the stable image for Meshery that we are using. And the original thing that you asked me to do was to make sure that this error is being reported. But I found that by taking this approach, we completely eliminate the need to. We will never come across this error, and hence the need to report this error is not required. Does anyone have any other questions or feedback?
Nice. Yep, that's good. Except we won't be running Meshery as the root user. So there will be this error that will continue. It's good information to offer up to the user that they can optionally set that and optionally configure Meshery to run under root, which is generally a no-no. Generally, that doesn't mean that users can't do it, and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't inform them that that's a possibility. The overwhelming majority of the time, I would expect users to not do that, but to just simply make a copy of or change the permissions around their kube config. So that's that's the foremost info that we want to present to them. The secondary info would be a suggestion that they can run it as root. So this is good. I'm glad you're digging in. Basically the potential scenarios are written up in the issue, and those need to be itemized and presented in a relatively large error code that says there are 4 probable causes. 1, you don't have a kube config. 2, you do, but it's corrupt. 3, you do, but we can't get access to it. 4, you blah, 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 and then each of the potential, and these things that you've highlighted are valid and helpful. The thing you were talking about, getting the image updated to that last item that you were talking about, the tag, say more if you would.
Yeah, so in the latest stable release for the Meshery container, So we have switched from, so now we register Kubernetes context as connections. So if you look at the save Kubernetes context function where the context is being saved to the provider, we're saving it as a connection. So this is on Meshery server's end, but over in the stable release, this functionality doesn't exist. So there is a disagreement between the Meshery cloud and Meshery server for this version of Meshery when trying to save the Kubernetes context. Does that make sense? So it returns a 400 error of some sort.
Just waiting for Pranav to jump in.
I was just saying that we did release Meshery last night, so stable latest should be having this, because even if you see Playground, it's running stable latest, I think, and I don't think there's any other.
But switching from stable latest to this version fixed it for me. But stable latest was some other version. It wasn't the Edge version for me. But I'll recheck it once more.
Okay. Probably did you refetch the image for your local system? Because your local system might have an old version of stable latest. So you might need to repull from Docker.
Okay, yeah, that might be an issue. Okay, I'll check refetch stable latest on my system.
Yeah.
Abdullah, but by the way, in general, each of the items that you're saying, this is great. This is great work that you've done. Each of these things have merit unto their own. You're correct about the Edge 6.131 being handling those connections differently, and that, yeah, as of 14 hours ago, that version of stable latest has an issue with the new. Yeah, there is a mismatch, but yeah, hopefully, if you do just one more Docker pull for stable latest, hopefully, but it's something that please confirm, because if it's possible that the tag didn't get onto the right image, or it's possible that there is a bug and stuff. So there's one last item I think to address here. And by the way, everybody else that's on the call, please, Abdullah is looking for feedback, and he's looking for people to beat up his work and question it and make it the best it can be. So don't hesitate with questions or feedback. I think that my last question is, well, it's super important, that line that you have on line 12. And I scratch my head a little bit, because there are, a couple, like, generally, I think that this is true. Generally, one of two places that when Meshery is deployed onto a system, and there's different types of systems, there's different types of setups, there's different types of the particular setup that you're trying to address is one that has Meshery running on a Docker host, like you said at the start, that if a user were to run Meshery on a Docker host, the mechanism that is used to deploy Meshery generally, or the officially published mechanism there, is to use the command line client in mesheryctl and to do a system start. And when you do, under the covers, that, by the way, Fifi, in terms of Golang, mesheryctl is a great place to jump in. But that mesheryctl command system start, it will call Docker compose, and it will start this compose file here. And if the user has installed, if the user is running all of this under the root user, or the person that's deploying Meshery, if they run it a root, and there, the Kubeconfig could be in a couple of different locations. And so the concern that I have with the change to line 12 is that, well, this might be an improvement, or this might be a step. This might be a step backwards, or rather, this is maybe a positive step. However, there are multiple locations. How do we make, the question is like, hey, how do we make sure we've got any of those locations covered, whether it's Minikube or .cube in the local, or it's under home / somewhere else. And so the line 15 should be performing it should have been performing the task of saying, well, it could be under home.cube, or it could be under /home app-user.cube.
Yeah.
How do we get it?
To answer your question, as far as I've looked into Meshery server, I didn't see any place in Meshery server where we were directly reading from home.cube. Instead, it was being read from an environment variable called kubeconfig_folder. This environment variable already exists in Meshery server. However, I will recheck once again to see if if a home.cube is hard-coded. But as far as I've looked into it, I didn't find home.cube hard-coded anywhere. But instead, we were reading from this variable. So adding this environment variable to the compose file shouldn't cause an issue for the most part.
You know what? I'm sorry. I was confused for a moment. I was conflating an environment variable with the volume mounts, so then let me rephrase my question real fast, or let me suggest this, that looks like a great change. I wonder if that environment variable doesn't support potentially listing multiple folders, like to the extent that let's say someone's running Minikube and kubeconfig happens to be under .minikube, not under .cube. So, yeah. So hopefully we could list out a few places, and it would be, and that greedy nature, or just listing out a number of them, is generally the behavior that we desire for.
So you're suggesting that we might have a list of places where we can find the kubeconfig. So that would require some changes in Meshery server. So like,
the first thing to evaluate is whether or not kubeconfig as an environment variable supports a list of, like a colon delimited list is what I would expect that it would support. A colon delimited, just in case that delimited list. See if it does. If it does that, then we're good. It's just a single line, and you can just expand the statement on line 12. But if it doesn't, then you're right. Then if it has to be an array, or like if it, but hopefully.
How we would have to implement it on the server side is that we would have to check through Golang whether a kubeconfig exists in one of these places, and the first place we find it, we set that as where we would read the kubeconfig from. So that would be the logic that we would use.
Yeah. Well, from all the places. But yeah, I think what you're saying is true. Just a quick recharacterization of your last statement, that we wouldn't stop at the first one. We would continue and be greedy about it. Try to connect all of them, I think. And this here, so we're going to move on here in a moment, but herein lie the UX enhancement overall for really, clarifying to the user. But by the way, just for reference for everyone else, the functionality that we're speaking of right now is that when you open up Meshery UI and you were to go to the settings area, and you can upload your kubeconfig, and Meshery can connect to any number of different Kubernetes clusters. Maybe you upload a bunch of kubeconfigs. It's this is the same set of interactions that we're discussing. And so, yeah, Abdullah, you're right that I was overlooking the notion that if we're using the Go client for Kube, that maybe it would be handling those multi-location lookups, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe we'd have to write our own Golang to go look to each location. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it does. I mean, like this is a really common use case for Kubernetes users, and so there might be some utilities or built-in intelligence into the Go client for Kube, to assuming that we're using it to go look up these various locations based on the definition, based on the value of Kube folder. One of the overarchingly, the ultimate final answer and the ultimate sort of right answer is informing the user. We found 89 kubeconfig files. 53 of these look like they're pointing to the same cluster, or like whatever that story is like, yeah, getting, here's the 3 places that we looked, or it looked like you had 3 places configured. We can't do that. We just find the first one. Whatever that behavior is getting it in front of them. So. Yeah, and then you're right. There'll have to be changes in Meshery server, back end and front end. Fortunately, the notification center will likely play a role in some of this. Anybody else have thoughts? So, by the way, this is only when Meshery is deployed to a Docker host. It's something different when Meshery is deployed inside of Kubernetes. It's a lot easier generally, except when you get into multi-cluster environments. You deploy Meshery inside of a Kubernetes cluster, and then you want it to manage that local cluster as well as any number of external clusters. That's not a problem for Meshery, although it will be helpful in the future if we are clarifying to the user which of the clusters under management is the one that Meshery is deployed to versus the ones that it is separately versus the others. We've written a design spec on that as well. Unmanaged.
We already do that. Like there's a type of deployment, and that shows out of cluster, in cluster. In cluster means the cluster in which Meshery is deployed.
Rex, you have a question here.
Yeah, I was just going to ask briefly, is there like a flow, so like a user flow that depicts the different interactions when deploying in, I don't know, Lee said something about this is just, what all that he was explaining was when it was just deploying in the Docker or something like that. Is there a flow for the different instances? The current, it would be nice to actually have the current reaction or the current behavior now and the expected or desired behavior to compare and see what is lacking on the one hand, and 2, if there's a flow, if there's like a clear flow of how it's supposed to work, then we probably can figure out where there's the disconnect and make some changes. I hope that is I hope that makes some sense, but that's just what I'm thinking off the top of my head anyways, because if there's a flow and we are trying to consider, then with the flow, we'll be able to consider and prioritize what does the user need, what is important to them. Is there need to find out, do we have to figure it out to know where to focus on or what information to pass across first primarily? So I just thought I'd add that. If there's a flow, it will be quite helpful, very, very helpful in fact.
Cool. Yep, Rex, the link to the flows, I just showed them, by the way. Hopefully you were seeing those.
Yeah, I was seeing some charts there, yes.
These sequence diagrams depict the system behavior. The user experience is not necessarily depicted within here. It's depicted within Figma. And, I'm sure that they could use some updating. And we also want them improved. You can also either like use the playground or deploy Meshery locally. In Meshery UI, the client-side interaction largely happens under settings. So up here, settings, and then there's this environment. So this particular user has 2 connections to 2 Kubernetes clusters. There's a little detail about each of the clusters. Meshery deploys an operator, the Meshery operator, to each cluster. So when it connects to each cluster, it deploys a small little Meshery component to be able to manage that cluster. And this is the set of interactions that occur today, are user-facing. People can also upload their kubeconfig here. And so for the most part, this is what was being referred to a moment ago about enhancing the interactions, the showback of what people would see when they go to, let's say I upload a kubeconfig that I'm sure that kubeconfig I just uploaded, Meshery server can't actually connect to those, it can actually establish a connection to the Kubernetes clusters that are described inside of the file that I just uploaded. Although I wouldn't know that as a user. It's not telling me anything. It didn't say anything. And that's a regression because in the past, it certainly has. And it should have been now.
So ideally, it's supposed to pop up like a notification to show or something has been added or included. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll probably, if I can do anything about it, I'll check the user flow and see maybe if I understand it, that's the first place. So I'll try and understand it. Then if there's anything, I'll let you know.
All right. Thanks, Abdullah. So, Suhail, you have a quick update on Swagger Docs build.
Yeah, I'm sharing. Yeah, so there is a CI job for uh, making the REST API docs. So basically, this job was failing due to some key not present in the Swagger docs. So this is the fix for this.
Sorry to interrupt. Suhail, your screen share just stopped. But, okay, we can see now.
Yeah. So there was some key missing in the Swagger file. So that's one of the reasons why the job was failing.
Okay. Yeah, looks good to me. The job is fixed.
Yeah.
All right.
This is
Anyone has quick comments or question? If not, let's move to next item. All right. Thanks, Suhail. So next up we have again a Meshery CTL update from Philip.
Okay, finally maybe. Yeah, so I've made changes to some files in Meshery CTL that had error workflow. I was able to make all the tests from the file changes I made. So I was able to make all the changes, make the test pass from the file changes here, from the filter to the text to the pattern and some system packages. So I had to make some adjustments. But the code call, which is what we all expect, is still, it increased to just 19 to a 4% increase, which is 19% now. So I'll keep writing more unit tests to increase code coverage more. But I'm glad that it was able to increase. And again, a lot of changes were made. So with these changes, all the tests passed. And then the workflow run, look at the workflow run. The workflow run, the unit tests were able to pass. For the integration test, I had to adjust a particular function. The error isn't, I don't know why it's still failing, but I made an adjustment to it. It's error cleared, but there seems to be another workflow run here for the integration test. But the unit tests have passed and everything is fine. And I was able to make some adjustments to the list package, the list subcommand for the package in Meshery CTL. There was some logical errors there, so I made changes to it. I made reference to it here. Yeah. So the arguments weren't initially, the arguments were still at default on new. So when the search string wants to access the arguments, it's not possible because the slicing won't be able to access those elements because the slicing will be empty. So I had to make the arguments, create an if condition statement to be able to access the arguments. Like for example, when you say Meshery CTL user list. Those are 3 arguments, and slicing take one of it. So with these changes I made, I was able to display the output from changes I made here. Because initially there was a particular error that it was given about slicing issues. So everything is fixed here, everything is fine. It's this PR I've made. So I'm also creating some other PRs to write more unit tests for different packages to mesh with CTL. Command line unit tests can be very, very tricky because I was looking at mesh sync repository this morning, and not much unit tests were written compared to this mesh CTL, and he was able to reach up to 40% or 50%. That was the maintainer of mesh sync. But we'll just keep on writing and find different means to make it more effective.
All right. Suhail or Abdullah or Webber, any comments or feedback for Philip? Or anyone else has?
Vaibhav, you should have some feedback. Are you writing that README or no?
I'm looking into the email job right now. So I'm just figuring out a way to present my screen. Actually, there's something wrong with my mic. And, when I share my desktop screen, I'm not able to, people won't be able to hear me. So that's what I was looking into. And I was thinking to present the email failure job solution in this meeting, but I don't think it will be happening because of that mic issue. And I've joined through my mobile right now, so that's why I'm able to speak, but not able to present my screen.
Yeah, pop over the link and somebody else will present. But you have feedback for, I know it's hard for you to see on your mobile, but part of what Philip had just said was that there don't seem to be many tests for mesh sync or instructions on how to build it and things. Do you have anything to say with regard to that?
Not right now. I'm so sorry. I don't have much feedback right now.
Are you working? Is that something you're working on? Maybe, like I'm trying to connect the dots here between you and Philip. Are you going to be working on that? Should Philip work on it?
I'll start working on the unit test in the first week of September. So that's what I told.
Actually, it's Isiko who I think is also working on that too. The guy in Australia, Isiko, he's really a few hours ahead of us. So sometimes he's very fun to attend our meetings. So he's working on that mesh sync unit test too. Also, I can also reach out to him. Maybe I didn't pronounce his name well. His name is Aisuko. That's his name.
Yeah, Asuko. You might have said it correctly. Philip, you're just really difficult to hear. You might have to swallow your mic. I don't know. Anyway, good. Philip, thanks so much for this, man. We need to move on to the next item. Yeah, I do encourage you to engage with Asuko. He lives in a time zone really far away, closer to you than me. But he's a pretty nice guy. He's one of the maintainers. He's been around a long time. Gaurav, what's the next item? Vayab, if you want to share something, Vayab, just send the link and somebody else can share while you speak to it. It sounds like Vayab, you're not going to be working on the build instructions for mesh sync. So good, Philip, we need build instructions for how to build mesh sync and how to test it. Sounds like Vayab is going to do some amount of work in a week or a couple of weeks, maybe there, but so a good person to parlay with.
All right. Freedisch, you're up next with K-Days context upload for Kubeconfig.
Sure, I'm sharing my screen.
Also, I just, real quick, we didn't hear any feedback from Abdullah, Suhail, or Ananya on Philip's work. And so, that's a bit disappointing, actually. Suhail, you're to tag team with Philip, help empower him. He's trying to make waves on unit tests. I'm looking to you to help make that happen. If you would. Sorry, Thibault, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So I'm currently working on this issue. So this
sorry
to
to interrupt,
actually.
Thibault. Your screen isn't visible. Is it just for me?
Wow.
Yes, not
okay.
visible.
Oh. You might want to reshare.
Okay. Sorry.
Or you could drop a link.
Yeah. I will just drop a link. Let me just talk about it. So basically, I'm working on this issue where I have to enhance when you try to upload the kubeconfig file. When you try to upload the kubeconfig file, currently Meshery tries to connect to all the Kubernetes contexts that are present. So what I did is to actually create another endpoint to actually just return only the available Kubernetes context file that are present, and enhance the other present endpoint to actually let the user choose on which context you want to work on. So that's what I did. And I was actually I did some modification on the add config endpoint, and it was actually causing Meshery UI to it was failing. So what I'm gonna do right now is kind of create another endpoint for that. So if there is any feedback, yeah, let me share this.
Just to confirm, we are working on an endpoint that would return all the available context.
Yeah.
Okay. But with this issue, I think there is also an. Go ahead. You were saying.
Sorry, Abdullah, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Yeah. So you're working on a new endpoint that would return all the available Kubernetes context, is it?
Yeah. That's it. Actually, I already created that endpoint, but yeah, continue. Please continue.
Yeah. Okay. With this issue, there is another ask. So currently, all the Kubernetes context that Meshery detects, it automatically deploys the operator too. So with this, stop that automated deploying of Meshery operators, instead giving user the ability to select which context he would, instead giving the user the ability to selectively deploy operators. I think you would also need to look into that as well.
Okay. That's good. I will look into that.
All right.
Just one more thing I wanted to tell that since now Kate's contexts are registered as connection, so you should also want to be sure that you change the status of the connection, because let's say by default the status is discovered, but let's say if user don't want to use them, then they can switch the status. So or if they want to manage that is which Abdullah was saying, that user want to manage that cluster, then their status should be managed, things like that. Based on the status, we would be determining what to do, and it would be persisted in the remote provider. There are already endpoints for that.
Okay, got you.
All right. Thanks, Thibault. So let's move to another item that's from Tejas Kumar. Do we have Tejas on the call? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Let me just share my screen.
All right.
So my PR was about adding a wrapper function for JSON.parse, and I did, and I made a pull request on that. Right now, I did not merge. I have some work to do on, as he pointed out. So that is what my peer was about.
All right, so it's a work in progress. That's cool. Anybody else
Yes,
have?
I will be submitting a PR tonight.
Okay.
It's,
And a couple of merge conflicts to resolve. Okay.
yes, yes. I will look into that.
All right. Thanks, Tejas. So let's move to next item. Some enhancements on custom toolbar. So Rajdeep Sengupta.
Yep. I'm sharing my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yep, it is visible.
So first of all, like I changed the whole notification system. Now it comes under like a single hook, which is use notification hook, which is like built by I'm forgetting his name. So like it is built by. Let me just see.
Abid.
Abid, yeah, it is built by Abid. So I changed it everyone in the code base. So now everybody uses the use notification hook. So while working on that, I came across this thing like in some places they're like there's auto duration is set for like 2000, somewhere it is 5000. So depending on the notification, it's changed. So but in the use notification hook, it's not actually like we cannot mention it. It's like by default 3000. So what we can do in the use notification hook as well, like we can just give a default of 3000, and then if we want that is okay, there is a like good notification that we want to persist for more time, then we can like set it for like 5000 or something like that, because there are like multiple places where the auto hide duration is 5000, there's 2000. So we can actually change it, and also we have a default if we don't give it. Yeah, that was from my side for this one.
All right. Yeah, looks good to me.
Yep. So another thing, anything, any.
Mr. Sophie, any thoughts, comments, feedback?
Yeah, I merged them. I had put some comments and he fixed those, so it's a great work now. Now actually we might like a follow-up work will be like to like change some, like sometimes there are things like that should be the event type of info that were previously doing success. So there might be some follow-up work regarding this. Rest looks great, and he's also working on the converting some class-based components to functional ones. So I will be looking on that also. So regarding the duration for the notification, I like deliberately didn't put there because we are like exploiting it, like there was no consistency previously. As now we're already persisting the notification, so that's why I didn't like expose it. So like there is the notifications are already persisted, so the time duration of the snack bar doesn't matter that much, and like it would be as standard like a 3000. But it will say if we change the API, it won't break the colors, so it's easy thing if we wanted to do that.
Okay. Good work, Rajdeep. All right. Let's move to the next item.
So yep, there's another thing from my side. It's like I was like working on the CustomToolbar.js, like moving it from like class based to component, like function based component. So while working there, like I'm just sharing my screen again just to show. So while working there, I found this thing, which is like there's a chart compare like state which is defined here, and then we are creating it again here, doing some like pushing some things like
Again,
in
sorry,
here.
Rajdeep, your screen isn't visible.
My screen is invisible. Just a minute. Let me reshare it. Is it visible now?
Nope, not yet. You can share the PR link. Okay, it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible. Okay. So basically, like while changing the custom toolbar from like classes component to function component, I found that there is a state which is chart compare. So basically, it like perceives the like charts for end times, start times, and everything. So when working with it, like this is like again we are creating it here, and we are doing some push operations here, and setting the state. But we are not actually using it anywhere. Like while pushing it, like changing it to function-based component, there's like obviously error that okay, this variable is like declared but never used. Like we are doing some operations with it to like persist the server time, boot config, but it's not used anywhere. So yeah. That's the issue what I was having.
Yeah, I just real quick, just in case it's not evident, there is the compare functionality on in the UI. It is in order for the user to access it, they have to. I don't know if you have Meshery UI up at the moment. We could take a quick look.
Yes, I guess I have it up.
By the way, it's a cardinal sin for you to not have the UI up on the call. It's like, I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing. Hey, I actually have it here, so I'll just show real fast. This might be on the side of what you're saying, but it's something to be aware of. I think I lost my session. Let me log back in real fast. Yeah, when people do performance tests, they get Meshery Meshery has load generators, network load generators inside of it. So people run the test, and after Meshery generates load, it measures the performance of the system under test, and it captures statistics. It does a statistical analysis. And then it's able to graph that info. Doing some explaining here while I'm trying to make it to the UI, trying to find a set of tests that have been run that, Pranav, I don't know if we have a permission issue. We might, which would be why I don't see any records. Let me run a quick test here. In these 15 seconds, I'll tell one of the funniest jokes you've ever heard. All right, just kidding. I'm gonna run a couple of tests. What I wanted to say was Meshery, to help ensure that we don't lose, as you go to work on that comparison capability, let's make sure that we don't lose it. It's quite the feature for those that use this. So we ran one test. I'm gonna run another one. It's only after someone has run more than one test are they exposed to the ability to compare them, which I guess makes sense. You can't compare against one test itself. So run it a couple of times. And when someone's looking at, they go into the UI here and they check mark two of them. They'll then be shown the button to do a comparison where normally individual test results are presented in a chart unto their own. Which one did I just do? Here we go. So here's a test that I ran. A single test, great. It's got lots of confusing mathematical information that nobody here cares about, or no, yeah, it takes a while to digest. Now, I ran a second test and maybe it had different results. If I would like to compare the two, then we do the check mark. And then we have a dark mode bug here where there should be a light colored button, and so should this. But now that two are selected, we can do a comparison. And what ends up happening is we have a purple line. I know this is kind of small. We have a purple line and an orange line, and the two results are being compared, overlapped. For users that maybe check mark 3 of these things, 3 or more, the comparison is slightly different, or the way in which that data is presented back is slightly different. And that's all fine. We don't have to understand all that. But I just wanted you to be aware of the behavior of the system and its functionality, so that as you try to ensure that, that variable that you were looking at, if you remove it, please make sure the rest of that functionality still works.
Yeah, got it. I'll look into it. Thank you.
Alrighty. So we are 3 minutes. Oh, I just hit the wrong button. Okay. So we are 3 minutes over, and we missed out a couple of items. So if you need feedback, make sure you drop a quick screenshot or grab a quick recording and do drop it on your PR. So with that, I think we are good to wrap today's call.
Oh. No one had anything super urgent, right? Yeah. So tomorrow is the newcomers call that's held every week. And then do we know, is there a Meshery build and release call tomorrow as well? I'm trying to remember.
Yep.
All
right. Do subscribe to this community calendar so you do not miss out any of the meetings. And if you got any questions, feel free to post it on Discuss forum. And yeah, with that, let's wrap the call. So thanks all for joining. We'll meet next week, same time, same place. You can get the recording of this live stream on YouTube. So bye all. Thanks for